The following is a Roll Poll production. And welcome to the first Motor City Metrics podcast of 2026, presented by the FanDuel Sports Network and Believe Network. I am Rogelio Castillo. Alongside me is Chris Brown, Uper, and Mike. We'll get to the FanDuel part because there's plenty to talk about with FanDuel that was involved in news today. So the irony of this all does not escape us whatsoever. So, but they are part of their new sponsor for the Believe Network, and so they mentioned basically to mention FanDuel as much as possible, organically possible, and that's going to be as easy as pie based off the news today. But there's other things that are much more pressing, as just about a minute or so, the content gods have once again blessed us with, of course, when I say these things, I always say it in just joking terms, what have you, but, calm down about gods and all that stuff. But just as we're about to go on air, Jeff Passan and Evan Petzold of the Free announced that the arbitration that the Tigers offered Tarik Skubal, two-time Cy Young Award winner, $19 million, and Skubal wants $32 million. So they're, if my math's correct, $13 million apart. So there's going to be, if he does win, he would be the largest. Currently, right now, it's Juan Soto with that distinction. So plenty to unpack. But this new waiting banner is absolutely spectacular. Thank you. Much appreciated. On the waiting banner, I put it up there. So, but at any rate, there has been, like I said, there's just a plethora of really interesting stuff that's happened in the last 12 hours or so. FanDuel, the Tigers leaving in addition to the Tigers, Braves, Reds, Royals, Angels, Mariners, Brewers, Cardinals, and Rays also have left. So we'll get to that. But yeah, the Tarik Skubal stuff is fascinating. Chris, you were talking right beforehand, go into the implications a little bit of what's going on with this.
So, I mean, what's going to happen, and I'm sure it's already happening because most people just see the giant gulf in the salaries, and they think the Tigers are just being incredibly cheap again because that's just kind of been the narrative all offseason, right? But what Skubal has done is pretty unprecedented here, asking for that much. The highest ever for a pitcher is $19.75 million by David Price. The highest ever for anyone was Juan Soto at $31 million last year. And Jeff Passan wrote a big article about this earlier today because he almost certainly knew this was coming, right? He wrote about the possibility that Skubal could do something like this. So historically speaking, the way arbitration worked was that players, they used to call it the 40-60-80 rule, I think, where players have 3 years of arbitration eligibility before they become free agents. And in the first year, you could expect 40% of what you get as a free agent on the open market. In the second year, 60, and then the third year, 80. People crunched those numbers and found out it wasn't actually anywhere close to that. It was more like 25, 35, 55, something like that, generally speaking. But those were the old rules. That's the way it's always been. And arbitration is something that the players have actually pushed for and always wanted, not something that owners want. Owners would like to pay players by their performance, kind of the way they do for the pre-arbitration eligible people now. But players have always wanted this because it's kind of it's one of their things that they fought for before free agency too. And so basically Passan's article was saying that this is just kind of a clear message from Skubal that they're trying. They know that baseball is coming for this. The next collective bargaining agreement, baseball is going to try to do away with the arbitration system in some way,
or hamstring it.
Yeah, and Skubal is part. And you can find that article, Jeff Passan article on ESPN. And he wrote that. So he said, he mentions there's another way you can do that, and it's rarely used because arbitration is, generally speaking, you're getting compared to players like you. Other players in the last 50 years who have similar numbers and similar ages and similar time served, whatever time served. But if you've got 5 years of what do you call it, service time, you can actually then compare yourself to anybody. And so Skubal is comparing himself to the highest contracts for pitchers in baseball. That's their theory. And basically, he thinks he's doing this because Skubal is on the 8-man team for the competitive balance and all this stuff. He's like a player rep for the union, and so this is all just for show. I find it highly unlikely that he's going to get the $32 million. This is just kind of messing with Major League Baseball owners. It's not Chris Ilitch or Scott Harris being incredibly cheap. They could have offered him a little bit more because he's a 2-time Cy Young winner, but it would be like $20 million, $21 million or whatever. It's not the deal. And I would be shocked if Skubal wins. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing for people.
So you don't see a compromise coming. You see maybe a Skubal loss that they'll go to the trial?
It's entirely possible that they, the Tigers are supposedly a file and trial team, which is just a term for teams that they put the number out there and then they don't negotiate anymore. And the Tigers did negotiate with Casey Mize. That was the last one of these that was kind of like they were fighting over $25,000 or something stupid.
You're a file and trial team until you're not.
Yeah. Now, if they can get Skubal but like I said, it would not shock me if Skubal is I'm sure, your fallback option of being 19 million is, that's okay, I guess. So it wouldn't shock me if Skubal just tries to take it to see what happens, just in case. If it does go to 31 million, then that changes things for everybody. But I don't know. We'll see. They did they had 11 players, I think, and they got the other 10 signed to deals.
Yeah. And so thank you, Chris. That really helps it basically set up the rest of the conversation, because there is a lot of like, well, just sign a man, like paying him and what have you, in terms of what they're offering. So I should clear that up. By 13 million, do you mean the Tigers are offering and 50% pay cut? No, the Tigers are offering 19 million and he is asking for 32. Mm-hmm. That's where that number came from. So just as a heads up, there.
I'm trying to think. Skubal what did he make last year?
And I was going to say 12, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I mean, this was going to be the largest increase ever from one year to the next for a pitcher in arbitration was Jacob deGrom, which was I think $9.5–10 million.
He made $10,150,000.
So yeah, they were going to give him. It's one of the largest jumps ever. So again, it's not the Tigers being super cheap. This is just the process in baseball. Every team would do this. This is Skubal trying something. This is I think you should leave. Back up. I'm trying something. 55 tacos, 55 taters is what he
yeah. He's trying that from what was the name of the show?
I think you should leave.
Yeah, that's his. But yeah, you have Scott Boras in your corner. I'm sure this is a Scott Boras also kind of like kind of movement, right? I mean,
it really is like we've talked about it a lot, but this is going to be a really ugly. If everything it folds into it. If there's not enough going on in the world these days, you also have TV deals falling apart, and you've got a collective bargaining agreement in a sport that is otherwise doing very well, but nobody can ever be good for long. They're going to have a massive fight next year, and we're probably going to get a labor stoppage, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers' offseason has been relatively quiet. I mean, it's super, super quiet. Well, yesterday the Cubs made a trade. They got Edward Cabrera from the Marlins. Bo Bichette still remains unsigned, but there's been rumors about him going to Philadelphia. So the Tigers have just signed a bunch of minor league pitchers and signed Drew Anderson. And of course they mentioned Gleyber Torres. And so it's been basically it. And then yesterday, AJ Hinch was on Tigers Talk. And before we get to the Tigers Talk thing, I wanted to here on Motor City Metrics and Tiger Minor League Report, we've joked around about Pat Caputo and all that. And, I feel really bad about stuff I've said in the past, just joking around and not being, it's all fun and games. But respect tip of the cap to Pat Caputo, who announced on Monday that he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And so our respect to him going out there, putting his ass on the line all the time, doing radio stuff. And we might always not agree, but cancer sucks, period. And I don't wish that upon anybody, and the whole thing sucks. But anyway, but as Evan Petzel pointed out, the Tigers didn't even promote the Tigers Talk thing too. And so AJ Hinch was basically saying, we got Zach McKinstry as a third baseman. So now people are speculating that that's the case. So, and as Colin mentioned too, this has been a slowest offseason recent memory from a league-wide standpoint. It's just across the league. And the flashy deals and what have you that we're accustomed to are not happening. And so that has affected the Tigers. The Tigers have been, really they've been somewhat busy, but there's a couple questions in the chat we'll get to here in a second. But anyway, so all that being said, Happy New Year to everybody too. I just wanted to wish everybody Happy New Year. So it's all doom and gloom 2026, as Chris said. There's been some things going on. It's been a really strange start to the year. But anywho,
we could mention the other guys who did sign, right? And this is not a situation where the Tigers are not going to have Tarik Skubal. They're either going to pay him $19 million or $32 million, or they're going to come to an agreement somewhere in the middle. But they signed it. What was it? Riley Green for $5 million, Torque for $4.5 million. I think Carpenter. I'm trying to find it right now. I don't know if anybody else has it handy.
Yeah, I do. I have it handy right here. So I have
right in the Tigers PR Twitter account.
Yeah, I have that right here. So all right, here's how it works. How it breaks down for everybody. Maya 6.1 million, Green 5 million, McKinstry 4.2, Torkelson just over 4 million, Bass 3.9, Carpenter 3.2, Verling 3.2, Rogers just over 3 million, Holden 1.5, Brisky 1.5. So total is $35 million, $35,000,000.6875. So that is exactly what's going on.
So it's the one thing. I always talk about this in our Discord a little bit, and I think nobody is under the illusion that Zach McKinstry is going to be this repeat what he did last year. But people were complaining about him getting $4 million or whatever, and it's like, well, he did have a 3-war season where he went to the All-Star game and won a Silver Slugger.
Absolutely.
At a certain point, you do have to pay guys for performing. Now, again, you don't really want to rely on that happening again because the second half was no good. But I don't know. Everybody's just angry about everything all the time, so that's the way it goes.
Well, they did have the biggest collapse in MLB history, and they're not doing anything to change it. So, I get what you're saying, but I think some of the frustration is warranted.
You'd be frustrated with a team all you want. I just don't yell about at Zach McKinstry.
I know. What's the difference? Was he you want him to make $3.7 million? Oh darn, he makes you're talking about pennies for these MLB teams.
And you can't you can't cut McKinstry after a year like that. Even if he doesn't, in an ideal world, he's not an everyday player, right? But he's probably one of the 3 most valuable utility players in baseball. Then, so you want to keep him around for sure. It's just I don't know. It does feel, despite all their, the talk, every time somebody asks Scott Harris about, will you have the money? He kind of pivots to talking about how much Ilitch has given and invested in the rest of the organization. It's you don't have to be a genius to know that they don't, their budget is about maxed out right now. They're not, they may, who knows? There may be a bargain at the end where they just feel like they can't pass it up and Ilitch is cool. But, they clearly don't have a lot of money to work with, or at least the Ilitch is not going to give them much more than they have right now. So they're not really pursuing any big names.
Yeah.
You have to wonder what the looming work stoppage, what percentage of it all is playing into that. But with the quietness overall of the hot stove and with the Tigers' seeming unwillingness to spend when that's a choice and not necessarily a sentence. They must know. And they'll never say it out loud, but they must know this could get really bad.
Yeah, there is kind of somebody put the comment. I wonder what Chris is going to
renovate Scott's office.
Scott's office.
Yeah, he's got that wood paneled room that.
The classic wood panel basement kind of.
Are you going to invest in sweaters too?
The quarter zips. You can't really
You know, those quarter zips are. Didn't we talk about this? The quarter zips are like super popular amongst the youths.
Really?
It's like it's like a big thing.
Oh, by the way, I can show comments now on the screen.
Oh.
So check that out. There you go. Yeah.
Just put them right over. Just put them right over my face.
Yeah, we don't need to see Chris.
Just right over my face.
So the regular size, and then there's a Y there.
I like that.
Okay.
All right. We don't have to do that. All right. Anyway, but no, it's a. Here's the thing that cracks me up about this whole thing too. It also. This is a conversation you can't have intelligently anymore, which is he's worth $7 billion. Well, that means he's a cheap asshole who's not going to spend. The value of a guy doesn't mean I don't argue with it because you can't win that argument. So, aren't you guys sick and tired of this crap? Yeah, we are. To a certain extent. What crap though? That's the thing. Like, what are you
talking about? Like the Tigers not spending? I mean, their payroll has been basically middle of the road. It would be cool if it were top 10, but I just don't think that's ever going to happen. So, I don't know.
What would it be if the Bregman deal was on the books? Like,
let's see.
Like they were willing to do it, right?
Yeah, last year, and that would have had. I think they would have been up at about 190.
Yeah.
And I think if they were to do it this year with the same amount of money, they'd be like 210, 200. I don't know. I have to. Everything's been updated today after the arbitration stuff, but no, like it would be nice. It'd be great if the owner of the team that we're fans of because we were, born in this geographic area was super willing to spend all his money, but he isn't. So there you go. You can.
That's what it comes down to. If he's referring to, aren't you guys sick and tired of this crap? The Skubal thing, I now resent Skubal as like a person. I love watching him as a player, but like this is all people want to talk about, like when they talk about baseball right now. I want something to happen, and I know it's not going to because this is the thing that's dominating everybody's minds, and it's like the cloud hanging over the team almost. Just because that there is a solution or there is a resolution coming, and it's soon, and it's not going to be one we're necessarily going to love, but we're just kind of waiting around for it almost.
I just became 17% smarter. I put on my quarter zip.
There you go.
Your brain power. I would boycott. I would boycott Little Caesars, but the pretzel pizza is just too damn good.
Is that pretzel pizza still? Is it back, or did it never go anywhere?
I don't know. I often don't. I don't get the thin crust and the pepperoni bread. But here's the thing. Mike, I don't blame you for your frustration. I understand that. The frustration for everybody across the board is absolutely justified in this case because what's even stranger, and it's something I was talking about this with Chris yesterday. The Tigers Toledo roster right now is just full it's all January roster, so it's just all joking around, but it's all pitchers and 2 infielders. There's not even catchers, there's no outfielders. And then with the trade of Justin Herman-Malloy for money, Tigers outfield situation suddenly becomes really weird because when you go down to Toledo, outside of Justice Bigby, everybody else does not have any AAA experience. Now you're asking yourself, what does AAA experience matter as far as that goes? If Riley Green has an injury, if Parker Meadows gets off to a slow start, and Max Park isn't ready, who do you got? Nobody. And that's another thing that's really weird to me is that they're not even addressing those kind of little things like that I thought they would address by now. I mean, it's January 8th while we do this. Does anybody care about the 4th outfielder? Not necessarily, but there's little things they're not addressing either. But man, they have the market cornered on arms I've never heard of in my life. Patrick Kane, congratulations, scoring his 500th goal in a winged uniform.
Yeah, Birch Smith was the big signing of the week, right? And
yeah,
I pointed out on Twitter they actually considered drafting Birch Smith #1 overall the year they took Victor Reyes.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
That's so long he's been around.
Well, because he had a solid rookie year, I think, with the Padres. back in the day, and then was one of those rare cases where a guy who already had MLB success was Rule 5 eligible. But yeah, to be frank, it's just easier to get pitchers in the minors right now to these deals. It's harder to get guys. A lot of the position players are waiting for those sort of, minor league deals with invites to spring training. And those usually come after all the low tier free agents have signed, right? But this has been such a strange market where it's almost exclusively like the 60th percentile players who are signing. There's still a ton of the top tier guys. There have been a few top tier guys, right? Like Schwarber and Alonso and Dylan Cease. But there's still a bunch of big names out there. And then so there's also a ton of like the cheap players out there too. So it's just been a really slow market, and that trickles down to the position players in the minors.
Yeah, the only one that Akil Baddoo signed with the Brewers, and that's really about it. I mean, there's been other, like,
he got an MLB deal.
Yeah.
And
then I know the Pirates signed an outfielder too, and I'm trying to.
They signed O'Hearn.
And they made it sound like that the Pirates are going to be competitive for a playoff spot with that, and I laughed my ass off on that.
But they've been very interested in people this year.
Yeah, very interested. Oh yeah,
they've been pursuing them.
Here's the thing: if that was something to help the Pirates fans cope over what they've been normally dealing with, I'm sure the Pirates fans are just as excited as we are.
Hey, I'd kill to hear the Tigers were in on some top guys. Like, damn, we haven't heard that even here,
Because
they haven't been linked to anybody because I really don't. It sure doesn't seem like they have any money, and that's the thing is it's like I don't know if they were planning on getting Flaherty and Torres back, but that ends up being basically their spending. They spent on the bullpen, and they brought back the players from last year's team, and I do agree with your point, Raj. Like you've talked about this a bunch. The outfield depth is bad, but if there's an issue in center field, you can do worse than like calling up a top 15 prospect in the game, right? Like even if it's too soon for Max Clark, it's just getting him more experience at the level that he needs. So they're like you could argue like the two biggest positions of need are shortstop and center field, and they could theoretically bring up top prospects at those positions at any time. So again, not an ideal solution, but not the worst solution either. It's not calling on Manuel Margot to play center field or So
yeah, I mean, if they're really, and I'm glad that Mitchell brings this up too. Would Trey Cruz be a decent outfield depth? Absolutely. Trey, Trey Cruz in center field, as Gabe Alvarez mentioned to us several times in Erie and then in Toledo, he was one of the best defensive players he had. I mean, this is a guy who went from almost 2 or 3 years ago. He was kind of viewed as a quote unquote hot dog for his defensive abilities, and then he went out and who was it that got injured in center field that caused him to go to center field? There was somebody that went down, wasn't there?
Malgeri? Was it Brady Allen?
I think it was Brady Allen who went down with an injury, and so they put Trey Cruz out there, and he just took over. And he was by far the best defensive center fielder they had, and he is because his father played center field in Toronto and Tampa. So that Trey Cruz is a good I'm not, the thing is that I was looking at where he was playing at last year. He played a little bit left. He played a little bit of right. He played a little bit of third. He played a little bit short. So I don't consider him a quote unquote backup. I mean, he is a backup outfielder, yes, but it seems like he's going to be the next, Zach McKinstry is a utility guy, but he could see more playing time in the outfield.
Yeah. I mean, he on the roster, he's listed as an outfielder. I think he's, he's an infielder by trade naturally, but he's not like super fast and rangy, but he just looks really comfortable and natural out in the outfield. Like,
very good arm out there.
Yeah, you put him in center and he'll be fine. He's not gonna, like I said, he's not going to be like a Gold Glover who's going to range from gap to gap like Parker Meadows at his best, but he'd be more than serviceable out there. So, and that's why they added him. Really, is that he has all that defensive versatility, and he finally, put it all together offensively. So that helps. Like they're not in a terrible position in the outfield. They've got Green, they've got Carpenter, they've got Meadows, they've got Vierling, they've got Perez, they've got Baez, you've got Cruz. Sure. The only problem with that is like the first 5 guys I mentioned have all been injured fairly often and fairly recently. So they could run into issues. You still have Jahmai Jones too, and you can throw in the corner. So it's an area of
smoke field.
Yeah, they have some options there, but it does get a little dicey after, certainly like you're not replacing Riley Green's bat and Kerry Carpenter's bat if they go down.
Yeah. I mean, I just on the Javi Baez thing, I'm worried like what we saw this year in Javi Baez is like the last it's like the rebound you get, when you're terminally ill and they seem really, really good and they seem totally fine and you get really excited and they're going to go home and then everything takes a sharp turn for the worse. I kind of feel like that's what happened with Javi Baez this year. I'm sorry. I just like he turned back into what he was in the last couple months of the season. And I don't really I'm still never going to count on him for anything. Anything that Javi Baez gives you is bonus. I will say that without saying any in my own feelings. Anything Javi Baez gives you, regardless of my feelings, is bonus. If it positive, negative, like
I think that's totally fair, Mike. I think that's a fair statement, but because he was down for so long, that you kind of have to take that view. But I think that he's despite take the contract and money out of the picture. Just as a player on the roster who is signed and is going to be there, he doesn't have to have 6 consecutive months of high production, right? I mean, if he can do something close to what he did last year, where he was an excellent player for a couple of months, that can help any team. And he did come back a little bit in the playoffs and showed a little bit again as well. So, I just think he's kind of reached that point in his career where he's not going to be your day-to-day force. But if he can find a hot streak for a month or two at a time like last year, then so be it.
Yeah. He was the Delman Young principle that I've talked about in the playoffs. It's guys like Javi Baez, you don't want to face them because they're going to swing and you have to throw them strikes. And he struck out like 4 times in the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
After like striking out 4 times a game, it seemed like for most of the year. You can't count on. We know that there's certain players who you just can't count on them doing much of anything this year. Certainly, like matching highs from last year, but at the same time, we know some players will probably be better than they were last year. Some will be worse, and you're heading in there with largely the same lineup, but with the potential again of 2 top 20 prospects in baseball joining at some point.
Yeah. And,
go ahead, Raj. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just saying, Matt. There's nothing wrong with Max Clark coming up at this juncture. If he came up, I just worry about that. I think sometimes fans expect our prospects to jump out on the page right away, and Clark is a guy who can handle it. I know he can. I just want them to call him up when he's ready to be called up, and that not rush the process, because we saw that with Spencer Torkelson in the past, and so that's my concern.
Yeah, this front office is kind of been the opposite of that, right? Like we have not seen them rush anybody. You could argue maybe Jackson Jobe, but I don't think anybody was upset about that, right? Like this is your guy with a huge arm, and he's coming up to help in the bullpen at the end of a pennant chase. Like that was kind of cool. They have not really rushed anybody else I can think of, right? Like it's been kind of slow played for most of them. Like Troy Melton, started last year in Erie again, and then moved up to Toledo, then came up to the big league. So as much as we would like to see them push McGonigal and Clark, they're not going to do it unless those guys prove in spring training that they absolutely deserve it. And then if they do, then there's more 40-man ramifications and stuff like that. But I guess you worry about that later. You always put guys in the 60-day.
When you talk about, as Chris noted, some players will probably outperform what they did last year because that's how baseball rolls. And talking about Max Clark, I just wonder if Parker Meadows is that guy this year. I would like to know how much that early injury, those couple injuries he had early on, how much that even affected him right through to the end of the year. Because he didn't get much of a spring training. He was off for a long time. Was he physically right ever at any point last year? Now, the big part is, can he stay healthy? That's been a problem in his career in general. But I just wonder with a full spring training, if he can stay healthy, if he's one of those guys, and that would keep Max Clark in the minors for a while.
Yeah, it's so tough because, like you see with Veerling too, Veerling could never get going last year and was constantly injured. And unless you're in like an absolute superstar monster or like Byron Buxton person who's just always injured and then comes back and is awesome again, or Mike Trout, right? Like they're always good and then they get hurt and they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard for players to perform when it's fits and starts like that. Even superstars. I remember, I know you've been a Ronald Acuna Jr. Fantasy owner for a long time, and there were a couple of years, he's had some rough injuries, and a couple of times he's come back and it just hasn't been the right guy at all. Like he's not
right
that impact player. It's tough for guys. They get these routines and they're not physically right. They're never physically 100%. But it's so hard to know what Parker Meadows really is. We've seen those flashes at the big league level, but it's just been flashes, right? It's hard to project if he can reach those levels again.
But even last year when he did play, he didn't look as great in the outfield even as he did the year before. He just never had that look to him, like he was going to put everything in his back pocket and he was just loping over there at full speed and piece of cake. It just, I would love to see that guy again in March and see how that moves on into April.
Well, here's a good question here. Do you want Clark playing in center field in the playoffs? Not because he's performing, it's because he's the only option. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather him being Max Clark being the guy that people expect him to be versus just like running him out there because he had no other choice. Yeah.
No, you don't want to do what Cleveland did last year and bring up Shake the Lauder for his big league debut because you have no other outfield.
Yeah,
it's not ideal. But again, like Roger was saying, like this is just how the front office works. They will not. We saw it last year, right? Like they'll go and get a quad A outfielder and put him in the outfield before they'll rush a prospect up. They just will.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd rather burn a 40-man spot for a guy like what's it?
Brewer Hicklin
or Blay Madras or what have
you. Madras, I couldn't think of
Ryan Blade.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what Dan said here, which is, we all know the offense can perform very well and Kevin Max don't have to be the dudes. It's very different from Torque and Riley. Absolutely. Griffin saw Mike Smith out there who just worked for the Tigers, that the idea of trading Spencer Torkelson with the idea that he may not have a level expected of him was to trade Torque and move Keith to first base full time. No, until they really figure out their third base situation or what have you. I think that if Keith was going to play first, he would have been playing more last year, and that didn't happen. So I think that it's.
I mean, I think that was the plan last year, and Torkelson just wouldn't let him. And that's the problem with trading Torkelson. And it's fine, but I think we talked about before. There were only a handful of guys who hit 30 home runs at first base last year, like literally like 5, I think. And the Tigers are very left-handed heavy, and they need a right-handed power bat. He's exactly what they need. It would be nice if Torkelson would be like 10 to 20% better, right? Like hit those 35 homers and hit 260, 280, something like that. It may still be in there, right? Like this, I think he is what he is, but even guys who are what they are can have that one year where they like. Would it shock me if he hit 270 with 40 home runs next year? Not really. Yeah. I mean, it would be unusual, but it's within the realm of possibility. So I don't know if you want to trade him just yet, particularly because you don't have that other right-handed power option.
I mean, I could see him becoming a 250, 340 guy. I really do. I mean, I think 250 is very doable for him. And what was he last year? 231, something like that.
I think usually,
yeah. I mean, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
When you say you want to trade somebody, it's like, well, for what? Like, what do you think you're going to get for him? Especially like right now. Like, I think it'd be the weirdest thing to randomly trade your starting first baseman right now when Chris brought up the biggest point though is like that they'd be trading him when he's exactly what their lineup needs. So
they need a better version of Spencer Torkelson. If they can trade Spencer Torkelson for a better version of that, sure. Go ahead. But
yeah, I mean, and also at the same time, you're not sure what you're getting with Eduardo Valencia. I mean, he is a defensive liability. Defensively, he's still relatively green at first base. That was a position he wouldn't play until last year. So we don't know what you have with him.
Bracino, right? I mean,
Bracino, he's still at least a year away. And it's just like, Torkelson's more valuable to the Tigers than he would be to anybody else, right? Like the first basemen don't have a ton of value. And teams will still overpay a little bit for power and run production. not overpay, but like pay more relative to WAR than you would see for other positions. But I don't think you're getting any big, monster player for Spencer Torkelson. It's, I don't. Yeah, you don't. I'm not opposed to trading anybody, right? But it has to be a deal that makes sense. And I find it hard to believe that they can make a deal of Spencer Torkelson where it actually makes this year's team better.
Yeah, and not to mention too, I think that Torkelson, I don't know. I think there's going to be a better year for Torkelson to come in terms of projections too. I think the projections are actually favorable towards him, and so right now as it stands too, Tigers' options at first base are very, very limited. And so there's no guarantees where you're going to get with Jose Briseño based off. Last year he caught a lot of games last year. And Colin brings up a good point too about the hitting coaches can do change Torkelson's approach. They hired the hitting coaches, right? The new ones, or did they announce
they got the guys from the Orioles, I think, and they bring somebody in from the Rockies, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Joel, to answer your question, no, there's not been an update on Bryce Rayner as of yet, but we'll probably see something close to when spring training. If you see the guys in the backfield, which which reminds me that we're gonna be launching a GoFundMe to get ourselves to spring training this year. We have somebody who's gonna host us very well, so thank you to Sherry. But we need help to get down there and playing and all that stuff. So that being said, we'll discuss that another date. But anyway, yes, the Tigers right now I think are better off with Torkelson at first. And I thought about that very thoroughly, but it's just a matter of the inconsistencies that you got to deal with sometimes with scooping the ball and everything. But he does make the plays when he needs to. So
he's the most consistent guy last year. He's the only guy I feel like I trust right now.
So let's move. Oh, go ahead.
Thing I think they could actually coach out of him. As an amateur first baseman, I hated the big swipe thing that he does. The big ole move.
Yeah,
they just got to get that out of his system. It looks cool when it works, but I think that the timing of that is brutally hard. So again, am I a fielding consultant? No, but man, I think that'd be the first thing I would fix.
Every time I think of Olay, I think of when Roger Dorn in Major League, when he's like, "What's with this Olay bullshit?" Every time I hear that, that's what I think of every time. But
yes.
So getting back to, we mentioned this at the top of the show, the FanDuel sees the 9 teams, according to The Athletic, have stopped working with FanDuel, and of course, we're proud to be sponsored by FanDuel. And so, that being said, that is how the Tigers can still negotiate a deal with that. And Rob Manfred had said that the MLB would step in with that. And I think Tiger fans they just want to be able to watch the game as easy as possible. If there's one thing that I think we had a lot of feedback from last year was everybody loves the announcing crew between Jason Benetti, Dan Dickerson, Greg Gagne. Mm-hmm. That was all fine. The on the field stuff is fine. It's just trying to find the FanDuel and just the whole thing was confusing for a lot of fans. And so I think if fans would just love to have some clarity, they have it back like they used to. Like it used to be on Pass Sports, Channel 50. That was it. Now it's just, and for a long time it was Fox Sports Detroit. I just think fans would just love it to be easy as possible to get baseball. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, people in our chat, if it was easy for you to find a game last year, by all means, let us know. But for those, I don't know. It seems like if they could streamline that would be a lot better.
I mean, times are changing, Roger. Like, I haven't had Channel 50 in my house, in 15 years, Cable's not really a thing anymore, at least in my mind. It blows my mind that that's something people have. And I'd rather not. Well, I find ways to watch games, and if you try really hard, you can find, you can do whatever you want. You can do anything you set your mind to. But I think that the unfortunate part of this is streaming. This is like outside of baseball. It's just the economics of streaming has just gotten to the point where it's not where baseball could go to make it most profitable would be a single network that you could have one subscription for everything that is not a niche, crappy app like the FanDuel Sports app was, right? I mean, thank God that they sponsored us, but the app was very frustrating. Like that just solution is not something that is feasible. So it's just we've gotten to the point where we would all rather go back to basic cable because it did seem so much simpler. But we've gone too far past it now. It's the world we created. This is what we wanted when we had no ads. We watch anything on demand. This is we had it sweet, and it's never gonna come back.
Yeah.
So, no change for you, OBK. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so something like Kevin saying it was on Fubu last year, except for the random Roku games. Okay. All right.
They have a sports package, but that's again like essentially basic cable package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's everything. There are 80 different streaming services. They all have stupid names. It's like CISO and Quibi and all these other nonsense.
CISO they had that Dan Harmon D&D show. I loved that.
Oh yeah, that's
CISO. Oh,
really? Wait, Dan Harmon had a
Harmon Quest. Yeah, he had a
they,
whole 3-season show where he did a D&D campaign for celebrities.
What they used to do, his old podcast Harmontown, which was just a show. They used to do like the last 20 minutes of every podcast was they would, in front of an audience, have a bunch of comedians and improvisers or celebrities come up and do a D&D campaign.
Oh, pretty awesome.
It was interesting. I never actually played D&D, but it kind of made me want to do it. But then it turns out that basically to do it, you just have to have a really good dungeon master. And I don't know.
I don't even think that's true. You need to have 5 reliable people to show up every week, and that's where it's impossible, man.
Mike, thank you. I've played D&D a few times, and that's exactly what it is. It's just coordinating schedules. Yeah. Always coordinating schedules. And I have a friend of mine, Jamie, who lives in Bay City, who plays, and she has a family, but they play once a month because the schedules are insane. But when they do play, it's like an all-day affair. So, but anyway, there's another dumb name for a network too, the boxing. What's the one that's it's got it's like a 4-letter name. You guys mentioned
there's a boxing network, Dingo, Dungo.
I forgot the name of it, but there's a lot. Like I said, I think if they were able to, I sound like an old man. I go, I don't know where to find anything, but no. And
is it BXNG?
Yes, DXMG. Is it DX? Yeah, I think it's DM.
BXNG. Mixing.
Yeah.
Mixing.
Well, that's like that Silicon Valley thing where you just no vowels allowed.
Yeah, but other than that, though, I think the Tigers are going to find a way to strike a deal because they have the infrastructure in place. It's DAZN. Thank you, DAZN. That's what.
So there is one vowel is allowed, but only for a word that doesn't make
only
sense.
One.
Yeah, only one.
So you don't think they're going to get part of that MLB thing where MLB takes over the television rights?
That seems to be the main thought right now, right?
Yeah.
That's where they'll go, yeah.
So there'll be no blackouts though, right?
Hopefully not.
Is that how that works? Wait a minute. I didn't know that.
I can't believe they're going to get rid of blackouts the year I moved away from blackouts. I'm finally free of the blackout, and now it's going to go away anyway.
Yes. What a lovely time to be in Minnesota.
Yeah, Uper, explain again. Living in Iowa, what teams you cannot watch in Iowa? Go because this.
If you're in Iowa, 20% of the league is unavailable to you versus on the streaming apps. So I would be the Cubs, the White Sox, the Brewers, Twins, and Royals and Cardinals.
What the hell?
Iowa voters all those states, so they make the argument that that's part of their TV territories. I've never met a Brewer fan when I lived in Iowa for 18 years. Never met a Brewer fan. I can tell you that right now.
Watch sports?
It was mostly Cubs and Twins and smatterings of everybody else.
I would think Cubs because of the Iowa Cubs.
Yes. And the Twins.
Yeah.
Some Royals. I mean, there's the little pockets of all of them, but really it was mostly Cubs and Twins.
Yeah, Colin, that blackout, if you want to get a good laugh, as Colin mentioned here, look at the blackout map, and Iowa is on there, and you take a look at it.
And to be a Tiger fan in Iowa was absolutely the worst thing possible. The worst, because obviously the White Sox, the Royals, and the Twins were on that list. So there were years before when they had the unbalanced schedule. I missed a hell of a lot of baseball. I knew Dan Dickerson's verbal tics really well because I had to listen on the radio.
Yeah. Iowa is beautiful on this map. That and then like southern Nevada are like the worst areas. It's such a random. All right.
Now I'm in Minnesota, and the only thing blocked out here is the Twins. So, and the Brewers. So I don't care about the Brewers. So we're all good.
All right. Let's. You know what? I have the map. I'm going to pull up the map right now of what it looks like here. And although this map kind of sucks because I'm looking at this and it doesn't really. All right. Let's see here.
Colin Arthur's blocked out of Detroit, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. So do you live in Toledo, Colin? Where do you live?
Yeah. I think he is in that.
Oh yeah, Ohio gets a lot of stuff too. It's really hard to read this map. Are you on the Wikipedia map, Roger?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. And then
there's too many colors. It's really hard to read for sure.
Yeah. I'm not gonna show this I'm not gonna show this to everybody because it's way too ridiculous.
It just looks like a colorful map.
Yeah. Anyway, if all these teams are going to the MLB as controlling their TV rights and putting things out there and blackouts go away, I think everybody wins. I think it's a good thing for baseball. I just wonder, what they're going to do with revenue sharing and what that means league-wide. Are they going to take Dodger money and Yankee money and spread that around? I can't imagine the Yankees and Dodgers will let that happen. I just think the next year is going to be some internal fighting in MLB and then the fight between the players and the league and the owners. It's just going to be so interesting to watch. Sad, boring.
It's going to be sad and boring, but it's going to be. I think things are coming to a head and just the matter of the owners going to. You see this now too. I mean, you saw that how Steinbrenner was saying basically we don't have. I'm paraphrasing a little bit that they're quote basically saying that they don't have a lot of money. Everybody's doing that now, and then the Marlins and Pirates doing this whole PR like, oh yeah, we're gonna be spending, yay! And it's like they're also doing it because they also don't want to lose their revenue sharing either. And yeah, I don't know. Baseball is in a weird spot right now, and I think if I'm baseball. I'm doing everything I can to have people have access to the game, easier access to the game. You want to the World Baseball Classic's coming up, and I know Chris said that. He said that tweet earlier today was cracking me up that said, "You don't care about in-season tournament, right? But a split season."
I don't. In-season tournament does nothing for me. I don't know why you would even do that. The NBA thing doesn't.
European.
Yeah, I mean, it might be cool for soccer, but whatever. No, but like I mentioned before, I don't mind the idea of a split season. I talked about it at the end of a show a couple of weeks ago. Like, if you expand two teams, give yourself. If they do that, they're probably going to go to 16 playoff teams. But in my world, they've expanded two teams. You've got 4 8-team divisions in each league. Then you have the 4 division winners from the first half and the 4 division winners from the second half. And then, kind of 4 at-large teams or whatever. And or I guess you'd have 4 total, two sort of wild card teams in each league. You can make it work, and it would be interesting. But you'd have twice as many pennant races theoretically. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the in-season term, let's just dispose of that, right? Because they don't know how to handle pitching now. And with WBC, the guys got to go 3 innings or whatever else. I mean, are you really going to sacrifice your best pitchers for this tournament, this new thing in the middle of the season? In baseball,
absolutely
not going to do that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense. And in basketball, it's not really working. Fans don't get it here. Like, I was joking about the European thing, but like, that's where these ideas are coming from, is because it's a super popular thing in most European sports. They just throw a tournament in there, and maybe it works for them, but it's, as a new concept, I think if they were to try it, it would take a long time for people to get used to. It's not something that would catch on immediately,
Yeah, and I think that there's something like the world, like for example, soccer has been able to do this because they've been able to have this for a long time, and baseball and these other sports. So it's based off tradition, and tradition speaks a lot about the sports in this country. And so anything new, and if, remember everybody complained about the automated strike zone that was coming in, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's not that bad, or the timeouts, the pitch count. Yeah, now all of a sudden, yeah.
Pitch clock's been a huge win, massive to me.
I like the way J-Man Star 24 said this. He says, no in-season tournament, no half seasons, enough of this Rob Manfred-esque shenanigans. You know what? Like I said, I want. I just want competitive baseball, easy to find access to it, and also for Christ's sake, like if I'm watching the minor league baseball somewhere, I don't know. If you have I think the Cubs do this on the Marquee Network. Here's a premise: why don't you just put on the same network as the big league team? That'd be easier, wouldn't it? Do things to make easy to watch baseball. That's the only thing I have my request. That's it.
Riddle me this: with a split season, and I win my division in the first half. What does my second half going to look like? Am I trying to win the division again? Do I get something for that?
Well, so in that scenario, if you have 12 playoff teams like they do now, right? How many teams get buys? 2 in each.
Yeah.
So I would think you'd still be going for the top 2 records would still get a first round bye if you care about that. Beyond that, I don't know what you would do other than theoretically in my head, I would think you might be a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline, knowing that you've got a playoff spot locked up and you need to build for that. But who knows? Like teams.
But do I also think guys more?
Yeah, you possibly.
Less?
I could definitely see that, and that's the thing. Like I'm sure people. I mean, we see that with the NBA, right? A lot of players get prescribed rest, and I could see that for sure. And we know how this would work. And like I said, the owners would be like, all right, we'll do that, but we're going to have 16 playoff teams. And that means teams will then spend less in free agency because they have a better chance of making the playoffs. And so it's like there's never a golden solution to any of this, but it would just be something that would be interesting. I think at least would make those games in June, I think, a lot more interesting than they are right now.
Very possible. I don't want to totally bash the idea. I'm happy to bash the in-season tournament, but the split season, I guess I would need to figure out more of the pluses and minuses, but I'm not totally opposed to the idea. But here's the deal. MLB brought in more than $12 billion this year. It's a $12 billion industry. They should be able to find something that works for everybody.
Yeah, no, you're right. And even on the heels of the fact that they also certain markets did really well TV ratings wise too. So record TV ratings, and I think, and I'm drawing a blank on the markets right now. I know the Dodgers were one of them, but there's a couple other of them that it's funny. Even the Rockies still draw. I mean, the Rockies, despite all their foibles and tomfoolery and all the words that I cannot use or swear words and all that, still, but either way, it's going to be interesting the next few weeks or so as pitchers and catchers report next. We're about 30 days out actually from that happening. So we're not too far away from the start of baseball season. The baseball weather today was like 50 degrees in Michigan. That's why I'm starting to get cold now, because of course the change of temperature means that my sinuses are draining and
could get up to 60, Roger, tomorrow. And then we got freezing rain over the weekend, man. Yeah. Good luck.
No, here's the thing. During the holidays, my niece and nephew and my sister-in-law were all sick. So we had to change when we had Christmas. So usually we do Christmas Eve. We didn't have it till like Sunday night of the break, right? I had to go to work on Monday. And the entire time, everybody's like, the people that were still sick, they didn't come sick rather, but they were still the lingering effects and everything. At work, it was decimated with people being sick and everything. Nearly 70 in Nashville. Oh man,
nice.
Yeah, you're used to that a little bit. But anyway, everybody around me was sick. Somehow I was dodging it. I was taking extra vitamin D, whatever I had to do. And then in the last couple of days or so, now I'm starting to feel like run down. Like, man, so close. So close. Run the gauntlet. I was straight, season and everything. Alan, to answer your question about the MILB staff, coaches and instructors, nothing as of yet, because Gabe Rivas, who did leave, by the way, to the Rockies, there still hasn't been an announcement on who's going to replace him and then the rest of the assignments as of yet. There is a good, strong possibility that, I can just tell you this, that Andrew Graham is no longer with the organization. Apparently, that's been unofficial. The team hasn't officially reported that as of yet. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a chance that Brian Pena will probably be the next manager of the Sea Wolves. Yeah. So
I have a question. Maybe you guys have heard and I haven't. I think I was gone the last couple of days. Benetti and NBC. Now, is he going to get that as a part-time deal? Is that a done deal, or are people just speculating on that?
That's what they're speculating. I'm assuming that NBC's in the MLB game this year. They're doing more, so that could change everything. We'll see. There's some things changing on the horizon that on the broadcasting side of things that are I don't want to say changing. Never mind. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. There's nothing really pending changing. It's just I think the Tigers are still going to do what they did last year with the three guys. It's just how they divvy it up. That's still left to be a mystery. So
mix and match and parse it out.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, as we two mentioned here, there might be a conflict with the Fox contract because he does football games for Fox. So we'll see.
Interesting.
But
funny talks though, so we'll see.
Yeah, and does he? Yeah, and I'm with you, J-Man Star. Benetti, but at the same time, he's good at what he does. Hey man, if they're throwing that kind of money at me to go around the country broadcasting, by all means.
I listen to most Tigers games on the radio. Even when I've got the game on, I'll put Dan Dickerson's call up. So I just get annoyed when Benetti goes somewhere else because then Dan gets called up to do TV, and then I don't get Dan Dickerson. So that's where it affects me.
You know what? But Greg Anga did a really good job filling in last year, and he's done a very good job of. He is a pros pro when it comes to this stuff, and the Tigers have depth. You know what's funny is the Tigers have broadcasting depth too. I mean, Dan Hasty down in West Michigan's really good. Jim Weber was one of the best, and so it's really really interesting. And even John Blank's gentleman in Lakeland too. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Zach Sardinic.
Pardon me.
Was it Zach Sardinic? Yeah,
he's really good too. And so it is nice to have like good voices across the system, and guys over in Toledo done a pretty good job too as well. So. That being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to the Motor City Metrics podcast here at part of the FanDuel Believe Network. And we appreciate you listening to us and want to say hopefully you stay classy and that we'll be back next week. We'll start kind of kicking off on a semi-regular basis. We'll keep you updated if things happen. Even if this slow as molasses offseason we can do. There's plenty of things we can do. We used to do a lot of like different things, like talk about things in the past, topics and stuff like that. But
old teams, movies, and stuff. We all have other stuff on our plate now. And by the way, if you're bored, you can go look at our top 50 prospects list.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. By the way, and if you're a Patreon member, you're going to get a surprise in the morning as the next batch of reports will be coming out. That'll be 40. Was it 40 through 30? Chris, did I have that right?
Should be 40 through 31.
Yeah, 42-31. Thank you. I will be putting that up on our Patreon first thing in the morning tomorrow. So, and then the rest of everybody will get that a little later. So, thank you so much for listening. And like I said, we appreciate everybody, the feedback and everything. And you're right, Chris. We're really busy. And, the good news on the front, my wife's cancer-free, got removed. So she doesn't have to do radiation. So she has to go back in 6 months. So thank the Lord for that. So that was really good news. And it's been nice. The last couple of weeks have been nice, but now I'm going to go take some NyQuil and pass out. So thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.